Summary of the Subjection of Women by John Stuart Mill. In his book The Subjection of Women, John Stuart Mill makes the argument that the existing condition of gender inequality is not only fundamentally immoral, but that it also prevents human happiness via its very existence. Men should not have more privileges and power than women. Instead, men and women should be completely equal. The unfair system we have now wasn't chosen through careful thought, says Mill. Instead, it came about because of the law of the strongest, which benefits people who are already physically strong. Today, a fair and modern society should get rid of this cruel system and put in place structures that will help everyone get ahead. People often defend gender imbalance by saying that it's just the way people are. But the same thing was said about slavery, which is now generally seen as a cruel and evil practice. Another argument is that women willingly let men rule them, but this is also not true. Many women, including those around the world who are currently fighting for the right to vote, are angry that they are being ruled over. The other issue is that men usually don't want to feel like they are controlling women, so they teach women to think, or act, like they are okay with being controlled. Everyone in modern Europe agrees that the best way to run society is based on the ideas of individual freedom and a competitive democracy. Thus, individuals can focus on activities they enjoy and are good at, while refraining from taking on jobs they are not qualified for. It is impossible to say for sure which gendered traits are biological and which are caused by social conditions because no one was raised in a society without them. Also, the huge difference in power makes it hard for men to really understand women. Some people say that a woman's natural job is to be a wife and mother. But if that were true, women wouldn't have to be forced to spend their whole lives doing these things. Mill says that married women are basically slaves to their husbands because they have complete control over them. In most places, women are not allowed to own land or be the guardian of their own children, even if their husband dies. For a long time, divorce was either not possible or too expensive for most people. This meant that once a woman got married, she could not leave her husband. Men who have power over women don't have to show they deserve it, and they often take advantage of it. Some people might say that each family needs a boss, just like people need a government to make decisions for them. Despotism also exists in the family, which is something that people should worry about just as much as they worry about despotism in politics. Instead of being a place where people learn about individual freedom, liberty, respect, and equality, the family could be a place where those values are taught. Women still face a lot of abuse in public, according to Mill. This is because most men don't want to see women as equals. For this reason, many jobs go to guys who aren't as good at doing the job as a woman would be. But in a competitive democracy, women wouldn't have to prove they could do well in a certain job ahead of time. If they were able to get the job, they would have already shown they could do well in it. Women probably don't seem as smart or skilled as men, but that's probably because they haven't had as much schooling. Women in history, like Queen Elizabeth I and Joan of Arc, have shown that they are more than capable of running governments. This means that women should also be able to handle less important jobs. Next, Mill admits that women are known for having strong perception. He suggests that this is because women are less educated than men and therefore have to rely on gut more than learned knowledge. People often have negative ideas about women, like how nervous and fragile they are. These ideas are probably based on the dangerous and restrictive circumstances women have to live in. Right now, women don't have a lot of time or money to spend on activities they choose. This is one reason why there haven't been many female stars in thought, science, or art. Many times, women need help from a man in order to get their work published, and the man ends up taking, or being given, all the credit for their ideas. That being said, neither men nor women often complain about how things are, and when women do, they don't blame men. But this could be because doing so would have too many bad effects. Men need to join the fight for equal rights for women because women are taking too many risks by fighting alone. Ending gender equality would not only make things better for women, but it would also change society for the better as a whole. Gendered injustice is a problem in the world right now because it changes society and especially the very important moral ideals of justice and equality. Women have had to deal with a lot of problems, but they have still made important contributions to society, though often in secret. Having said that, not all of these efforts are necessarily good. Mill, for instance, thinks it's a shame that women usually follow the crowd and scold their husbands for being activist publicly. It's possible that women would be more creative if they got a better education and more power in society. They would also make better wives because they would push their men instead of holding them back. If there wasn't gender injustice, marriage might be more like a friendship between two people of the same sex, where both can argue and learn from each other's differences. That being said, Mill knows that for many people, the thought of a marriage between real equals is hard to even think about. Overall, female oppression is a big problem in society that keeps people from thriving. It takes away people's freedom and independence. This is why it needs to be wiped out.
About the author. John Stuart Mill was born at 13 Rodney Street in Pentonville. His father, James Mill, was a Scottish philosopher. James made sure that his son had a very tough schooling that included lessons from the famous utilitarian philosopher Jeremy Bentham. Mill knew from a very young age that the point of his life was to use his schooling and intelligence to help build a fair and happy society. But when he was 20, he had a crisis when he understood that reaching this goal would not make him happy, and he thought about committing suicide. He was able to get through this time in part because William Wordsworth's poems gave him new ideas. Mill worked as a colonial official in India after finishing school at University College London. He supported British Empire in India, but he didn't like how the British Crown ran things directly, which is what made him decide to go back to England. Harriet and Mill's niece Helen Taylor had a big impact on Mill's work, especially his fight for women's rights. At the end of the 1860s, Mill was a Liberal MP for City and Westminster. As an MP, he worked hard to get women the right to vote. He was 66 years old when he died in Avignon, France.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.